Right, can you guys hear me? One sec. Cricket strike. Nice, let me turn the lights on. Hello. Like if you buy now. So I would like to know if you guys can hear me. First of all, I'm trying this after a long while because I've done a live stream for some time. In it. Oh yeah.
Good Lord, everybody let me see you clap those hands. Come now and let me see you clap those hands. Everybody let me see you clap those hands. Come now and let me see you clap those hands.
I tell you what, babe. Hey, I tell you what, babe. Hello everyone, ciao. It's a late night live stream. Hey everybody, good night to all of my followers, whether you're on Facebook, X formerly known as Twitter, Instagram, social media world. How we doing tonight? Are you guys doing good? So ladies and gentlemen, it is I, Tyrell Ordine, aka the Cricket Starboy, coming at you with a late night live stream. I do not know when was the last time I did a late night live stream, but without further ado, folks, there's so much cricket happening around the cricketing globe. There's been a lot of ODI cricket of late. There's been the Asia Cup in Sri Lanka, and in about less than 4 hours from now will be the start of the final between India and Sri Lanka, played at the R. Premadasa Stadium in Colombo. So to all my Indian and Sri Lankan friends, wishing both teams the best of luck. I'm going to be staying neutral with that. India will be looking to continue its dominance in the Asia Cup. They'll be looking for its 8th title, while Sri Lanka will be looking for its 7th crown. And I must admit, India and Sri Lanka are simply two of the best ODI teams out of Asia. A lot of y'all have said Pakistan were favorites coming into the competition, but they proved you guys wrong again, and we are gonna get into it in tonight's video. In fact, before I go any further, someone was saying on my Instagram live, had a question on Instagram for me to answer on the show, and I do have it on so just give me 3 seconds please, guys, because I do have a comment in which I did make with regards to Pakistan's elimination from the Asia Cup. I'll just pull up my archives. Bam. Never hit or miss. I have to share this pic from a year ago. So guys, a lot of people have been slamming the Pakistan's team's performance in the Asia Cup, and let me just say, they have disappointed me the most as a loyal cricket fan. Now, I've always been a neutral cricket fan. I do support whoever team is performing on whatever day it is. But for me, Pakistan, you all have disappointed me as well as a cricket fan, and I want to share my thoughts on what I had to say about Pakistan's team performances. So one of my followers asked me a question yesterday when I was doing a Q&A. What's your opinion on Pakistan? What they need to do to change before the World Cup if they have to get to the semi-finals? Well, let me just say that that is the first question we'll be talking about, because a lot of talk lately has been about the Pakistan's team's performances and how they didn't make the Asia Cup final and how they ended up dead last in the Super 4, which has disappointed me the most. But we will get to that later on in the live stream. But first and foremost, with the Cricket World Cup just about a few weeks away from now, there has been a lot of mismanagement when it comes to Pakistan cricket, which I will get to in a little while. But we need to talk about we have to point out that not only Pakistan has injury problems, New Zealand, of all people, who have been the giant killers in the last two ICC Men's Cricket World Cups, making the finals. Leading up to the tournament, they have been having a lot of injury issues too. Kane Williamson is at the back end of recovery from that severe knee injury he sustained on the opening day of the IPL. He's going to be leading the side at the World Cup once he's 100% fit. But the big story out of New Zealand is that Tim Southee might not make it to India. That's because he fractured his finger, and we will get to that later on. Australia, they have injury problems too. Apparently Travis Head might miss the tournament now after fracturing his left hand after being hit by a delivery from Coetzee during the 4th South Africa-Australia ODI a couple of days back. But the biggest story is out of Pakistan now. I know the Asia Cup finals are a few hours from now and India had to make a last-minute replacement, but we have to talk about the men in green. That's because Naseem Shah has been ruled out of the upcoming ICC Men's 50-over Cricket World Cup after sustaining a serious injury to his right shoulder during one of the Super 4 Asia Cup games. If you haven't been following the Asia Cup, Naseem Shah apparently re-injured his right shoulder during Pakistan's first Super 4 match against Bangladesh, and he had to be forced off the field for a little while, but then came back out. Then in the next match against India, the same right shoulder he wounded in the first game got injured very worse. They had to take him to Dubai for scans, and apparently the scans showed that it has gotten worse. And in this live stream, we had to bash the PCB and also its medical panel, because from what I was told, the Pakistan Cricket Board actually did sack the team doctor they had from a couple of years ago, only to bring him back just early this year after the Ramesh Raja administration was thrown out because of political Tabanca. And for those of you guys who are asking why did I have the title Cricket Tabanca, is because Tabanca is a Caribbean slang, or should I say a Trinidadian slang, which I will go in depth to sometime later on, or if not, another video which I will do subsequently. But Naseem Shah's injury is a massive blow to Pakistan, because they already lost Haris Ral for the rest of the Asia Cup. From what I'm being told now, he is likely going to be fit in time for Pakistan's opening game against Netherlands, which I believe is the 6th or the 7th of October. I have to double check the schedule. But Pakistan, I think next week, are going to name the World Cup team, and there's been a lot of Tabanca inside a PCB. Just Saturday afternoon, about a few hours back, I was reading how Inzamam ul Haq, the former captain of the Pakistan team, is threatening to quit as chief selector because he apparently wants power over the players and want to stop them from playing foreign leagues. He can't do that in this time. And the reason why I'm saying this is because as much as all I want to stop Pakistani players from playing in the foreign leagues, franchise cricket is the future. Even India's Ravi Sastry said it in commentary last year. If you stop the players from playing in the franchise league, they will take you to the courts, and the players and the agents will end up subsequently winning. He said it on Sky Sports last year, but we need to get to the bottom of this. So in a statement the PCB released on Saturday, which was yesterday now, the PCB medical panel will decide on the fast bowler's return to cricket based on further assessments, end quote. And since now when Naseem went to Dubai to have MRI scans on the shoulder, apparently the injury has gotten worse. Excuse me, these stupid flies want to get away. I apologize for that. Since his shoulder injury has gotten extremely worse, not only he's going to miss the entire World Cup, but most importantly, Pakistan's tour of Australia at the end of the year, where the men in green will face the baggy greens in 3 test matches starting in mid-December, and the 3-match test series will also decide the Warren Kadir Trophy, which was named, or should I say the Benu Kadir Trophy, which was named after the late Richie Benu and Abdul Kadir, the former Pakistani spinner. Now, Richie Benu was one of my favorite commentators, and never go off course when Richie is commentating. Let me just say that up front. Not only Naseem will miss the World Cup and possibly Pakistan's tour to Australia, but also next year PSL, which starts in February. And let me also go ahead and say this. It is time the Pakistan team management and the PCB gets held accountable for overworking their star players. If you recall last year, a few months before the ICC Men's World T20 in Australia, it was Shaheen Shah Afridi who injured his knee in a test match against Sri Lanka just a couple of months before the main event. Now it's Naseem Shah in the Asia Cup. So whatever is happening inside the PCB and inside the Pakistan Cricket Co. And furthermore, it's the same shoulder that Naseem Shah injured in the Lanka Premier League a few months back. And another thing I was reading on X, formerly known as Twitter, yesterday morning was how the Ramiz Raja-led Pakistan Cricket Board, when he was chairman 2 years back, got rid of Dr. Sohail for mismanaging players when they were injured. And flash forward 2 years back, the same man who was sacked by Ramiz and who was brought back by Najam Sethi, who in my view should also be held accountable too for bringing back some of the old heads, as well as reviving the 2014 constitution, which saw the return of regional and department cricket to Pakistan's domestic system. And speaking of that, the domestic season in Pakistan bowled off last weekend, and I don't have results on me right now because I haven't gotten a chance to get every single note. But let me just say this, bringing back the regional and department cricket, there was no need for the return of the 2014 constitution due to the fact that the 2019 constitution was working very successfully well under the 10 years of Wasim Khan and Ramiz Raja, when both of them were in charge in their respective tenures as chairman or CEO of the Pakistan Cricket Board. But still, why in this wicked world would the Pakistan Cricket Board, this current administration I'm talking about, bring this doctor back inside to the medical setup? And this is the same man who has destroyed many international careers of several of the players. And that is a question that has to be answered. Now with Naseem Shah injured, so as in Shanula, who just had elbow surgery recently, I was reading on ARY News how there was rumors of an unlikely return of Mohammad Amir. Now, as much as I like Mohammad Amir, I do not see his return happening anytime soon. With due respect, I like him as a fast bowler who still hits the deck hard, but he has prioritized franchise cricket in the last few years. That's why he has walked away from international cricket for good. We could rule him out. And so, on the other hand, Hassan Ali too, who just resumed bowling before a Quaid-e-Azam Trophy 4-day game following a finger injury he also sustained at the same Lanka Premier League tournament. And another injury concern that Pakistan has too is Mohammad Hasnain, who I had the pleasure of watching once or twice at the Queen's Park Oval when he was with Trinbago Knight Riders back in 2019 for CPL. From what I was told, he's in rehab now, And the only other two choices Pakistan can have as replacement for Naseem either is Arshad Iqbal at this time, who I would have in my team despite not playing an international match. And furthermore, I've watched him bowl quite a little bit in the Pakistan Super League, and so has the talk of the town Zaman Khan, who I had the pleasure of watching in that virtual knockout game against Sri Lanka, where he nearly defended 9 or 10 runs in the last over to get Pakistan over the line. Unfortunately, Pakistan lost the game to Sri Lanka. But Pakistan's problems are one, the top order, and two, the bowling attack, because some of the players are out of form right now. Fakhar Zaman is not even getting runs. Neither Shadab Khan when it comes to taking wickets. He needs to contribute more. And to all the idiots that are calling for Babar to be replaced by Rizwan, you all have to be out of your stupid, filthy minds. I love Babar Azam as a batter, and so as captain as well. He has led from the front in the past, and he's going to continue to lead from the front come the World Cup. And when Pakistan starts that campaign in early October, they'll have Afridi with the new ball, and so as returning Haris Ral following injury against India in the Asia Cup. And there's Mohammad Wasim Jr., who's got to take that third seam attack role due to Naseem's injury. And I rest my case when it comes to Pakistan team. It's a toss-up between Mohammad Wasim Jr. and possibly Zaman Khan. Either if Zaman is in the reserves or in the 15 out of the blue, that's an option that must be decided when the Pakistan team has to select the squad. Sorry, but I just spit out of the blue. So moving from Pakistan to Sri Lanka and talking about the Lions, they are already without Dusmancha, Chamira, Lahuru Kumara, Warindu Hasaranga, and Dilshan Madhushankar. Now the Lankans will have to do without Mahesh Chikshana, who has been ruled out of the big Asia Cup final against India in about 4.5 hours from now, which the final starts. This is after he injured his right hamstring during the virtual semi-final against Pakistan on Thursday. Sahan Aranshi has been called up as a replacement for Tikshana, who will now have to go through rehab and will likely be fit in time for the Cricket World Cup in a few weeks from now. Coming to New Zealand now, they have serious injury concerns in their camp as Tim Southee, during the fourth ODI against England on Friday, dislocated and fractured a bone in his right thumb while attempting to take a catch to dismiss Joe Root in the 14th over of the game. According to New Zealand Cricket and their coach, no timeline has been given for a return, but according to ESPN Cricket Info, there will be further assessment to either determine if Southee will keep his place in the 15-man squad for the World Cup in a few weeks from now, which starts the 5th of October, which will be his fourth ODI World Cup if he makes it last minute. And India, on the other hand, they also have injury concerns too before the big Asia Cup final, as Akshar Patel will miss the final after sustaining a left quadriceps strain during India's last Super 4 game against Bangladesh on Friday. India did lost to Bangladesh by 6 runs in what was a nail-biter at the Premadasa. Washington Sundar, who has joined the team in Colombo either on late Friday or Saturday, will be his replacement. And talking about the Aussies, who have been playing a lot of aggressive ODI cricket of late, they have to change its batting lineup for the decider against South Africa also in a few hours from now. This after opener Travis Head fractured his left hand during the fourth ODI between the two teams 2 days ago after he was hit by a bouncer from Gerald Coetzee, which forced him to retire hurt and never came back out to bat. In the end, Australia lost by a heavy margin, and in that same game, Henry Klaasen struck 174 to guide Australia to 416 for 5, which is South Africa's third highest total in 50 over cricket. South Africa's 439 against West Indies in 2015 was their highest. In fact, South Africa coincidentally has scored 400 plus 4 times. Twice against Australia. Never forget the 434 chase and the 416 the other day. The 438 they made, I think, against West Indies, and the 439 against India in Mumbai, where De Villiers, Du Plessis, and De Kock scored hundreds, which led to a serious trashing of India to take the series, and that was the only time South Africa defeated India in an ODI series on the Indian continent. But coming back home now to the CPL, aka Cricket Played Louder, I haven't gotten a chance to talk about it since the last video. I know lately I've been kind of busy. Right now I'm focusing on getting help with my resume to get a job in the media. Hopefully that works out quite well. But previously in the last video I spoke about the Trinidad leg and how it was, and how TKR and Amazon Warriors will have 2 bites of the cherry in the playoffs. We now know that Amazon Warriors will finish at the top of the table and TKR second. This is after Amazon Warriors defeated the Knight Riders by 6 wickets in a few hours ago at Providence in Guyana to officially secure the top spot. And knowing now that both Amazon and TKR will have at least 2 bites of the cherry come playoffs time, which starts on Wednesday, and the both teams will be facing off again that time. But we got to talk about the third team that made the playoffs, and that's the St. Lucia Kings. Now, in the old days of the CPL, we had always known that the St. Lucia Kings, which was known as Zooks back then, had always failed to make playoffs till 2016-ish, where they would on and off make the playoffs and impress everyone. They, in my view, have always been the underdogs and the unpredictable ones, unlike TKR, who are very unpredictable nowadays. But let me just say this, the Kings gave the 5-time finalists a hell of a wake-up call on Thursday by beating the home team by 7 wickets. And I told you that night I was extremely happy because the Kings got away with so many calls that went in their favor, because Amazon had one poor night which never occurred, which hasn't happened throughout the competition. And I must say, you have to big up Sri Lanka's Bhanuka Rajapaksa and one of my favorite foreign players who has always been a part of TKR setup between 2016 to 2022 last year, Colin Munro. Let me just say, both Munro and Rajapaksa mainly mashed up the Amazon Warriors bowling attack big time. Coincidentally, this was Rajapaksa's first CPL half century, while this was Munro's second consecutive 50 of the tournament, and I must say it was his second in blue for the Kings. He made 70 plus against TKR on Sunday, but in a losing effort. But this time it was in a winning effort. And furthermore, with that victory against the Amazon Warriors, they have secured third place, and Sunday's matches will decide who will finish in fourth. Kings will be in action 10 o'clock in the morning against the Jamaica Talawas, while in the 7 p.m. match pits the Amazon Warriors and the Barbados Royals. Earlier today, the Talawas kept their playoff hopes alive by crushing a very sorry-looking St. Kitts and Nevis Patriot side. But we got to talk about the match that finished a few hours ago with TKR and Amazon Warriors, because it was supposed to be a grudge match for the Knight Riders. However, with both teams securing playoff spot, it turned out to turn from a sour rematch into a not a grudge match, it turned from, I beg your pardon, a grudge match to a dead rubber. Why I'm saying it was a dead rubber, because both teams had already made the playoffs, and Knight Riders made 6 changes coming into this match. And I must tell you, in that game they played against Amazon a few hours ago, they rested Nicholas Puran, Andre Russell, Sunil Narang, Ali Khan and Waqar Solanki, plus Lukan Tucker, who has played the anchor role for some of the matches in this year's CPL, has linked up with the Irish team in England for their 3-match ODI series against England. That's because he has been called up by Cricket Ireland to represent Ireland in the 3 ODIs and will not take any further part in the competition. From what was supposed to be a grudge match, it turned out to be a dead rubber. And here are my thoughts on the match. First, to begin with, the captaincy from Kieran Pollard was extremely poor. Sorry to say this. And even though they opted for a young-looking side for this dead rubber, the only positive was Kisi Kati, who was Lokan Tucker's replacement. And I must say, TKR did the right thing by getting a West Indian player rather than go for an overseas player, because they are trying to get Tim David. Unfortunately, Cricket Australia called him up for the South Africa-Australia series, and that was a blow first to begin with. But Kisi Kati's sublime innings of 83, which included 7 boundaries and 4 maximums, I must say, he has sincerely changed his game. Why I'm saying he has sincerely changed his game, because every time I've watched him in 50-over cricket, he takes his time to settle in and then looks to score those crucial runs. And when he was out there earlier on, there was one point where TKR could have made around 180, 190 or possibly 200 had he had stayed there. By the time he was dismissed in the 18th over, that turned out to be the turning point in the match, because in that penultimate over, beg your pardon, the 19th, TKR just lost its way. They lost 3 wickets in the back end. And on the other hand, when they came out to bowl, the captaincy and the fielding, let me just say this, it was extremely at an all-time low. And I do hope for the first playoff we get things right by winning the toss, fielding first and winning the game, because I've seen most of the matches in this year's CPL, teams have won the toss and have gone on to win the game. There are times where that would backfire, but after what I saw tonight, it reminded me of a carbon copy of the game here in Trinidad against Amazon, where Knight Riders dropped about 5-6 catches and fans were very livid with that. It was the same story here tonight, because the fielding was extremely way below par, and some of the bowling choices Pollard made was horrendous. And I rest my case on my thoughts on TKR's performances against the Talawas. And also, let me give you guys the match summary very quickly. Amazon Warriors sent TKR in. The Knight Riders made 176 for 7. Kisi Kati's top scored with 83. Imran Tahir, the Amazon Warriors captain, was the pick of the bowlers with 3 wickets for 12 runs. And those 2 important wickets in that penultimate over, that all-important 19th over, that really was the killer blow. And when Amazon Warriors came out to bat, they reached to its target very comfortably with 6 wickets intact. And Amazon Warriors also has injury problems too. Kimo Paul injured his groin while fielding and had to be lifted off. Hopefully it's not serious if you're a Guyanese supporter, but from the way it's looking, it may be more worse. It may be worse than we would have thought, to be as precise. And with Amazon topping the table, that gives them the psychological advantage going into the first playoff against TKR on Wednesday. And I do hope the Knight Riders get it right by bringing back the big guns. They need to bring back Puran, they need to bring back Narayan, so as Russell, Ali Khan, and also Waqar Solanki. Those were the guys that were winning you games. And the other thing they have to be concerned about too is Martin Guptill. While he was running between the wickets earlier, he may have pulled a side strain too, which is also a huge concern. And he's one of those batters who had a poor start in the tournament but came good when the team needed it. He right now has about 268 runs in the competition, and so has Puran as well. Now, Puran and Guptill have been the backbone of the TKR batting order after all the criticism they got for the first couple of games. But now, fingers crossed for Guptill to get fit for the playoffs, and I do hope he gets fit because he's needed at the top. And furthermore, Chagrin Walton has been a waste of time in this competition. And furthermore, and lastly, beg your pardon, I rest my case. So I hope you guys enjoyed this very special late night live stream edition with yours truly, the Cricket Starboy. I'll be back tomorrow to share my thoughts on the Asia Cup final and possibly Tallawah's St. Lucia Kings. Who knows? So until then, folks, be good and be cool. Thank you all for watching.